Hey guys, I'm currently in the hospital. Um, to make a very long story short, I had a very bad UTI, and on top of that, I had this disease that was called hand, foot, and mouth disease, which is really weird because it's supposed to be common in children. So, yeah, I'm not a child, so it's weird. Anyways, um, just wanted to give you guys an update and let you know why I haven't made a video this week. This is the reason. Um, yeah, I don't really have much else to say except that. I will let you guys know everything that happened from my stay. I've been in the hospital for almost a week, so I will let you guys know what happened in the following video. So, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Hey guys, so I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update as to why I haven't been posting any videos recently. It's not because I ran out of ideas or just didn't want to post. I actually ended up being hospitalized. Um, to make a very long story short, well, as short as I can make it at least, I woke up that day that I ended up in the hospital and was in a lot of pain. My back was hurting. I could barely walk. I literally dragged myself out of bed to get ready to go to work that day. I had a fever, I was dizzy, and I thought I just had the flu. And yet I still went to work. And 3 hours into going to work, I ended up having to leave early because I just was in a lot of pain. I just did not feel good. So I left and I went to the ER. And again, thinking I just had the flu. Mind you, prior to going to the ER or a little bit before that day, I knew I was getting sick because I was starting to sneeze and I thought it was just a cold. And then I woke up that day feeling the way I was feeling and thinking, okay, it's just the flu. So I went to the ER and they did a couple of tests and they admitted me into the hospital. And the only reason they admitted me at the time was because my heart rate was elevated. For normal heart rate, I think it's at 80 beats per minute. And when they admitted me, my heart rate was at 99. So they admitted me just on that mere fact that my heart rate was elevated. And they ran tests, and turns out that I actually had a really bad UTI. Um, it was so bad to where my body is actually septic. And pretty much all that means, for those of you that don't know what that means, is my bloodstream was poisoned due to the bacteria that was in my kidneys or being backed up into my kidneys from the UTI. If you are just getting into my YouTube channel, I've mentioned before that I have spina bifida. So along with the spina bifida comes incontinence. So I have no feeling or control over my bladder. I don't know when I have to urine. I don't know anything as far as having any sensation when I need to do a bowel movement. So that's part of the reason why I'm prone to UTIs. But this one, I mean, I had an idea that I had a UTI because I just wasn't feeling good, but I had no way of getting to a doctor because I didn't have health insurance. And I didn't have health insurance for years. I haven't been seen by a doctor in years, which is why it got as bad as it did. But that day, I got admitted and they started me on antibiotics for the UTI. The next day, I woke up and, for a lack of better words, I felt like crap. My heart rate went from being 99 beats per minute to being 130, 145. My fever when I first got admitted was a little high. It was like 99, maybe 100. Once I was actually in the hospital, the next day I woke up and my fever was as high as 102. And they did more tests because when I first went into the ER, I told them that the reason that I thought I was feeling the way I was feeling was, one, was because I thought it was the flu. Two, I thought my shunt was malfunctioning. So they ran a whole bunch of tests. They did CT scans, they did x-rays, they did a lumbar puncture. For those of you that don't know what that is, basically it took spinal fluid from my back to see if that was infected in any way. Everything came back clear. I didn't have anything wrong with my shunt. It's perfectly fine. It's working, which is all good. But turns out that the reason that I was feeling the way I was feeling was because of the UTI. So a couple days in to being in the hospital, my body became septic and it got really bad. It got to where my fever got as high as 103 and would not go down. They had me on ice. They gave me antibiotics, gave me pain medicine because my back was hurting due to the fever that I had. And no matter what they did, my fever would just not go down. And on top of that, my heart rate was still elevated and my oxygen level went down. I ended up not being able to breathe on my own. I needed to be put on oxygen. And it makes me like kind of mad because of the fact that I wasn't seen by a doctor sooner. This whole time I've been trying to see a doctor, and this whole time I thought it was my shunt. Turns out it was a whole lot worse than my shunt malfunctioning. Not to say that's not bad, but septic shock is deadly. And that day I woke up thinking I had the flu. Had I just continued thinking I just had the flu and nothing else, I wouldn't be here right now. I could not breathe on my own at one point. My fever was really high. I was not eating. I was throwing up. My nose was bleeding. I got really sick. And they ran more tests, and on top of the UTI, I ended up having this disease called hand, foot, and mouth disease. And I heard about it one time before I was actually diagnosed with it, and the only reason I knew about it is because a coworker had it. And it's usually spread among children, but it's also spread among adults if you have children or are around children. So if you work with children, you can possibly get it as well. But I ended up getting that, and that was minor due to everything else that I had. The only thing that really happened with that was I got a whole bunch of blisters on my hands, my feet, and obviously my mouth. That's why it's called hand, foot, and mouth disease. But it was the least of my worries due to everything else that I had. And they did more tests, and one test came back saying that my liver was actually enlarged. And that was due to a flea bite that was actually infected. And I don't necessarily want to throw my workplace under the bus like that, but at the end of the day, when I first got hired, there was an infestation. And we were unaware of it when we first got interviewed, first got hired. And I got bit by a flea. And that's the reason my liver's enlarged. I'm not going to really go into detail as to what infestation they had, but that's part of the reason why my liver's enlarged. But out of everything that I had, the urosepsis was probably the worst because it caused me to not only have fevers and not being able to breathe. At one point my blood pressure dropped. I was not eating as much. I was nauseous, was throwing up at some points. And I remember one day I woke up and I had a fever, and then later on in the day, I was just not able to really talk. I was stuttering a lot. Like, it was so hard just to say the word ice. And that's not normal for me. I mean, I already had a problem with my speech because of the fact that I thought it was my shunt, when in reality it was just the fact that I was becoming septic. And I mean, I ended up being admitted, and it happened so fast. Like, I thought I had the flu, and then everything happened with me not being able to breathe, not being able to keep food down, and my fever was just going up. It went as high as 103.7, I believe. It was bad. And I ended up going to the hospital, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad that I went there and they did what they did, or else I wouldn't be here. But while I was admitted, I also ended up having to deal with rehab due to the sepsis. I wasn't able to really walk because I was dizzy, so I was on bed rest, so I had to learn to walk again. And on top of that, they did the lumbar puncture, and my right leg right now is in a lot of pain because of it. And on top of that, they had an IV on my right arm. So they were drawing blood from my left arm to do lab tests and stuff like that. And one nurse actually decided that she was gonna put a needle in my arm, and instead of getting blood out of a vein, she ended up poking a muscle. So it's kind of painful to move my arm right now. So I'm rehabbing that a little bit. And they ended up taking out my IV and put in a PICC line. And this is the first time I've actually had a PICC line. I've never had it before, so I didn't know what it was. And for those of you that don't know what it is as well, basically the way that the doctor explained it to me, and he was a really cool doctor the way he explained it. He called it a super IV, and that's basically what it is. I mean, it went into my arm. I don't know if you guys can see the scar a little bit. It was right here, and basically all it is you know how in IVs, if you've had one, there's a little tube that goes into your arm, and that's all it is. With the PICC line, it's a whole lot more longer, and the reason for that is because that tubing actually goes into your heart. So the medication and everything that they put into it goes directly into your bloodstream. It's a quicker way to get medication into your system, and on top of that, you don't have to keep getting sticked with doctors and nurses coming in trying to get blood out of you, because they can just get it out of your PICC line. So I didn't know that until I actually got one. This is my first time actually getting it. Would I want to get one again? Maybe not, because getting it is actually, for me, it was painful. And on top of that, when they took it out, and I found out that it actually went into my heart or the artery or something like that, they wrapped it up and told me I couldn't take out the bandages for like 2 or 3 hours, or else there was a chance that it could bleed out because of the fact that it went into an artery. And that scared me. So as far as getting one again, I don't know. I mean, if it's my only option, then I mean, it's my only option. But I'd rather stick with the IV. It's less dangerous for me, at least. So, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys as to why I haven't posted any videos. It's not because I didn't want to. I just wasn't able to. I was in the hospital, and was in the hospital for a week. So, yeah, it was a lot that I went through. So I just couldn't. I'm still not feeling 100% back to normal. I'm limping due to my leg hurting. I'm rehabbing my arm. I'm still on antibiotics, so don't feel 100% yet. But I'm not in the hospital anymore, so it's a good thing at least. But I mean, the whole point of me making this video is not only just to let you guys know where I've been and why I haven't made any videos, but for those of you that do have a disability and let alone spina bifida, and don't have any control over your bladder or bowel movements. I mean, as much as you think that UTIs, or you can just take antibiotics and it's fine, have your doctor check you every so often just to make sure that you're okay, because I had this UTI apparently for months, and up until recently, I didn't really realize that I had the UTI. I knew I wasn't feeling good, and I had an idea that I had a UTI, but I didn't know I had it for the amount of time that I actually had it. And again, had I not gone to the ER that day and been admitted, I wouldn't be here right now. So I'm just kind of making this video to let you guys know what happened, and basically to tell you guys, if you can have the chance to, or anything, go to your doctor and get tested for anything that has to do with UTIs. I mean, UTIs at first are very minor, but they can progress. I mean, I didn't know that until recently, so just get checked out, because what I went through this past week could have been avoided had I just gone to the doctor when I first had my UTI and got antibiotics and got it cleared up right away. So, yeah, that's basically what I have for you guys for today. So, hopefully, you guys learned something. And again, it's just an explanation as to why I haven't posted any videos. And it's not necessarily an excuse, but kinda at the same time an excuse, because, like I said, had I not gone to the ER that day, I wouldn't be here. So, anyways, I will see you guys hopefully Monday if I have the energy to do the research for more videos. And if I do, then I will be posting again either Monday or Tuesdays. I'm not really sure which day I'm really changing it to, because I've noticed that I've been posting Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm not really sure which day I'm going to stick to. So I will see you guys in my next video. And again, as always, please don't forget to subscribe to my video and like this video. And I will see you guys when I see you. Bye.